Chapter 12 Enlightenment through Cessation of Breath. What is enlightenment? It is very rather difficult to comprehend even for an intellectual. It is beyond words and thoughts. Words cannot describe it, and human mind cannot express it on the physical platform. What is enlightenment, and what happens after achieving this? Only an enlightened person can comprehend, but still it is beyond his words, thoughts, and speech. Physically and mentally, it cannot be expressed or demonstrated. Here experienced experience and experiencing becomes one without any duality, so it is even beyond consciousness and hence expression. However, what is the first step to reach its door, and what qualities are developed and needed to be developed to reach its doorstep? What is the scientific approach to be in the enlightenment? It is very mysterious. It is purely a subjective approach. It has multiple means and ways. There is no definite laid down path. It is pathless path. However, all paths lead to same destination. The ultimate source is the same. To get enlightenment, one needs to cultivate divine qualities. To achieve these divine qualities are one's own self-efforts and years of divine practices, and furthermore, still this ultimate highest grace of the being cannot be achieved without his ultimate grace and blessings. One can reach merely its doorstep by various scientifically evolved techniques, but opening of the door of the enlightenment is purely by his choice and grace. It is beyond human efforts. There are no objective means involved for enlightenment. There are only subjective directions and approaches, and these may vary from one individual to another depending on his mental frame, thoughts, and built-in characteristics. That is why Buddha has made explicitly clear that one has to discover his own way to enlightenment based on his temperament, attitude, and bent of mind. However, every human being can cultivate basically various qualities, those who are governed by heart and mind, that is emotional and mental qualities. In other words, knowledge and devotion are the two basic prerequisites to follow this path. Knowledge by mental development and intellectual in-depth understanding makes this process very comprehensive, easy to follow, and practice scientifically by devotion to arrive at the highest peak of this doorstep of enlightenment. However, there are many pitfalls on the way of evolution that can take an aspirant of this path to the original backward level again and again, but still by his efforts and persuasions, he can stand by devotion and self-efforts and reach to the doorstep. However, unless heart and emotional qualities are not fully developed, devotion and faith do not touch the peak. Till then, the grace of the being and his door of blessings may not be opened. Until that stage, one will be deprived from the enlightenment. The path of enlightenment, the supreme knowledge, is very straightforward on the one hand and extremely difficult on the other hand. It is like controlling the high-speed wind without putting obstacles on the path, but still draining the basic source of energy of the wind. It is the path of total integration. It means human mind should be fully refined and pure and one-pointed. Duality of any kind needs to disappear in totality. It is the single-track path without any division. It is similar to an integrated seed that can only grow and can form a big tree. It can only give flowers and ripe fruit with time, provided the seed is of good quality, integrated, and for its growth, adequate amount of fertilizer, water, sunlight, and other necessities are available. With deficiency of any of the required needs, the seed cannot grow as a plant, and nor it can develop into a full-fledged tree to give fruits to serve the humanity for decades. In the same way, When there is no duality, the mind is fully concentrated and awakened. It can do wonders and can lead the self to the path of enlightenment. There is as if a death of mind when it is integrated, that is, it is fully concentrated, dissolved, or disappeared without a duality. It is annihilated, and thus available energies are evolved to reach to the state of enlightenment if properly directed. However, generally mind is always disintegrated and fragmented and does not possess the real strength like as in a seed which is integrated and perfectly in one piece without even having a scratch. If the seed is fragmented and scratched, slightly broken, it cannot grow, even if it has all other amenities in plenty to grow. It will be destroyed with time without any growth. Similarly, human body can exist only in one piece, but if one part of the body is fragmented, body cannot survive. On the contrary, human mind cannot sustain an integral form. It lives in different fragments, always roams and thinks of too many things at one time. Its energy is always divided. If it becomes perfectly integrated, concentrated, it is then annihilated. Then mind, being part of Maya, vanishes. Furthermore, consciousness is manifested since mind, being its derivative, is annihilated. And then manifested conscious is transformed to consciousless state with discontinuities. Then consciousness steps into being and transcends time and space. And thus self, Atma, soul merge with the self, the supernal. This state is nothing but the state of enlightenment. This leads subsequently to manifested consciousness of human being, since soul is the core consciousness, which is enhanced with divine qualities on mergence with the absolute or supernal. A human mind is the source of thoughts. It is the natural characteristics of the mind. At times, there are a number of thoughts in the mind, and sometimes one thought after the another comes in the mind. Mind has infinite energy since it is a part of Maya, and it always works on one thought or the other. It is always dynamic. The first step to achieve and climb to the doorstep of enlightenment is to bring the mind to the thoughtless state. Thought process needs to be stopped. It is only possible when breathing process is fully controlled. Since breath is the prerequisite for existence of mind and thoughts, breath is the food of mind. Breath cessation gradually becomes the ladder for enlightenment along with many other prerequisites. Thus, no continued linkage of thought one after the other is continued in the mind. One must observe the flow of thoughts in the mind. Gradually with time, flux of thoughts gets reduced and mind becomes one-pointed without thoughts. It is the silent state of mind before it is annihilated. The mind must be silent like water in the deep ocean. Silence of the mind is its static state when the mental energy is fully concentrated. It becomes a reservoir of energy and brings peace to the mind like a rich person with wealth and power. Silence of mind shows its intrinsic strength. One can think deeply and will not be easily perturbed when mind is completely silent. Silent mind is only governed by emotions. Mother loves her child when she is in full of emotions. Her mind is completely silent. It is merged in child's welfare and love. She cannot think of anything else except emergence in love for her child. This silence gives her internal bliss. In the same way, when a person is in the state of mental silence, he is emotional. He cannot play tricks. He crosses the crookedness of life. He is beyond worldly gimmicks. he becomes a man of love for other fellow beings. Gradually, a human being becomes more divine personality as he is merged in silence more and more. He becomes more devotional with time. His mind and intellect are sublimated with time, and divine light gets gradually manifested in him with time. Thus, a prerequisite for enlightenment is established. Gradually, such person himself realizes serenity of mind, peace, and change in attitude and temperament before others. The colleagues near and dear of such a person recognize gradually all these changes in his personality. Under these conditions, his consciousness transforms into consciousness with discontinuities. He crosses the boundary of time. He steps into timeless state and to be beyond time and space. He is then in Akal, which is the abode of being. Thus, he steps into being and becomes enlightened. Thus, his consciousness is merged with the unity consciousness, as if light is merged in light. Void experienced in consciousness becomes one with cosmic void of unity consciousness. Everything has become one instantaneously. There remains no difference between God and experiencing one. Furthermore, when gradually person enters in the silent mode of mind, he speaks less and eats to live and not live to eat. He gradually transcends his five senses. By proper living and with healthier attitude of life, his relationship with others and his own health improves. In addition, less speaking and use of controlled words by appropriate use of the tongue helps him to establish healthier relations with all, and this helps him to preserve his energies. Silence of mind teaches him to speak with eyes and gesture of face, which will be true reflection of his heart. Childlike innocence will be developed in due course with the purity of heart. He starts looking within and starts spending time with himself that enhances the scope of enlightenment gradually. Thus, scope of booming the internal energies are enhanced, which helps him to remove vices from his mind, and gradually mind will become pure and silent. And then he may experience the light of the self. The light of the self is basically self-enlightenment and the God's realization. Furthermore, such a person becomes innocent internally in the real sense. An innocent person automatically becomes truthful, honest, fearless, and selfless. His egoism disappears, and many divine qualities just pour in his personality. Such a person will be near to the divinity as he will be away from many vices. He will be less and less in Maya, that is, the illusion. However, with discontinuities, so he will be at least on the first step of enlightenment. All the qualities listed and analyzed as above will place him on the first step of the divine path. However, nothing is feasible without the control of breathing and the existence of tranquil breath. Gradually, manifestation of divine qualities by self-efforts, divine practices by devotion and his blessings, and to transcend time and space frequently are enhanced. Thus, more and more divine qualities will be manifested, and thus, gradually, perfection in these qualities will finally positively lead him to the enlightenment and self-realization. In this way, he may achieve the highest goal of his life. Thus, with the booming divine energy, he improves his health, extends his happiness and well-being. Certainly, this will add to extend his life. However, in the background is the science of secret of breath that guides him on every step to be enlightened.